What's up, everybody? You know who it is. You know the deal. So I just wanted to post something real quick because I was sitting here, had a meeting with Chiba, and I got to thinking about something I wanted to share with you guys. The Antiquitech, the ancient technology that we see trace evidence for all over the place, right? This could include everything from the pyramids to the cathedrals. And specifically, what we're talking about is, in my opinion, basically Tesla towers, right? Nothing to do with the Elon Musk company Tesla, the old Tesla towers, right? Where they were actually um, harnessing free energy from the earth itself, right? So you've got the 100 volts per meter in electric potential in terms of your altitude above the ground level, right? And so the higher you build your Tesla tower, the more potential electric energy you can harness, right? Then, of course, on the other end of that uh, Tesla tower, you've got the ground, right? So you've got like a super large copper stake that's connected to a Tesla tower at the top of the tower. Again, 100 volts per meter in static electric potential. And then you've got the ground. And so when you have two Tesla towers within a certain proximity of each other, and that proximity increases with the height of the tower, so taller towers can be further apart. And within that radius of those two towers, you've got free energy generated, right? And so the sky acts as, I guess, the negative, and the ground acts as the positive, right? Maybe I have that backwards, but anyway, you get the point. Um, that's what Tesla was tapping into with his towers, and I would even go so far as to say the Hotel New Yorker was probably built as a Tesla tower. But from what I gather, you have to have two of them within proximity of one another to complete that circuit, where the ground sort of acts as one connection to the circuit, and the high voltage potential of the sky acts as the other part, right? So that's probably oversimplifying this, but if you go back, there was a History Channel documentary where one of the guys is the dude from Skinwalker Ranch show on History Channel or whatever that channel was. He's like a redheaded doctor guy, scientist guy, globetard for sure. But anyway, in one of the episodes of the Tesla Files, the dude actually builds a couple of Tesla towers, and he's able to. He had to actually plug it was like a speedboat, a remote control speedboat. He had to plug it into one of the Tesla towers. But uh, anyway, so I'm gonna try this video editor I downloaded the other day, and we'll see if I can make it work. Uh, so the reason that I got to thinking about this was, you know, anytime you have an electrical circuit on like an airplane or something, if you just keep running electrical circuits on an airplane, um, it has static buildup, right? And it'll start shorting out all of your electrical circuits. Eventually, it takes a long time for that static buildup to get critical, right? And so every time an airplane lands, it just automatically grounds out, right? They've got it set up to where all of the electrical circuits ground out every time the airplane lands, um, which of course poses some pretty big problems for satellites and the LISS, of course, but besides the point. Um, so I got to thinking, so like any sort of electrical system, if you don't ground it out, it's going to have a static overload, right? But are we really to expect that the ground is an infinite capacitor, right? So basically, all of our electrical circuits, and every time it lightnings, right? So even the electrical circuits of the Most High, whatever those are doing, are all grounding out. So, on globe Earth, we definitely don't have an infinite capacitor, but even on flat and stationary Earth, I would suggest, well, if we're on some disk flying around in space with a dome on the top, as, flat earthers believe, right? Um, then that's not going to have any sort of infinite capacity, right? But what about, so like, what does this say about the realm? Um, so I would suggest, and this is the crux of where I'm going with this video, that should have taken 5 minutes, and now I'm like 35 minutes into recording after several interruptions, and now having to edit and render this video. What's going to happen when the capacity of the Earth capacitor builds up to the point where it is going to experience static overload or static, like discharge, right? And so it just makes you wonder about several things like these resets, like what are we seeing with these ancient resets and the mud floods? Could it be a natural occurrence of this, um, of the Earth itself, just merely uh, giving up its ghost, if you will, in terms of its static overload? You know what I mean? Like eventually that uh, an overloaded capacitor has to discharge somewhere. And it just makes you wonder, like, did the ancients know this? Did the builders of the pyramids know this? Because, the pyramids are often connected with these free energy concepts where, you've got the 100 volts per meter in altitude, the ground, the deeper you go on the ground, the better the capacity you have for the connection between the two Tesla towers. This is stuff that was solved in the early 1900s, or probably long before then. It appears that Tesla merely rediscovered this ancient technology. Everybody knows that his father was a Orthodox priest, and so Tesla would have had access to things like cathedrals and this antiquitech and the tomes that are usually kept under lock and key under the Vatican and that sort of thing. Um, and so it's just interesting and perhaps detrimental to us as we little human beings, if we don't sort of think about this, because I just don't see the Earth itself as being an infinite capacitor. Um, it appears like when we have things like lightning strikes, that would be the ionist plane grounding out. And perhaps that does lend some credence to like the heavens operating on some form of electricity, and well, certainly not gravity as they would have us believe. So just food for thought. Like, what do you guys think? Like, is it possible that the ancient structures, especially like the pyramids, are maybe put in place to help balance out any sort of static overload, and maybe like allowing for sort of controlled discharge of this sort of Earth ionist plane free energy system that we live within, and shouldn't be paying for fuel, or shouldn't be paying electric bills, shouldn't be paying to heat and cool our homes or to gas our cars. We should have had free energy solved over 100 years ago. It was solved. We're living in a prison planet, and it is the great deception only which allows for us, divinely created beings, to be controlled by these archons who have got to go. Even if the system has to entirely collapse, and I mean, that would suck to see that happen, but fuck this place anyway, really. Anyway, love you guys. See you in the next one. Let me know what you think. All right.